President Cyril Ramaphosa has established the Commission of Inquiry to probe the Truth and Reconciliation cases. Ramaphosa has appointed retired Constitutional Court Judge Sisi Khampepe to chair the commission. It's set up to determine whether attempts were made to prevent the investigation and prosecution of apartheid-era crimes. Now, Khampepe will be assisted by another retired Northern Cape Judge President Frans Diale-Gomo and Advocate Andrea Gabriel. The establishment of the commission is part of an agreement reached in settlement discussions in a court application by victims of apartheid-era crimes. It will cover the period from 2003 to present and is expected to be complete its work within 6 months from the date of proclamation. It will submit its report within 60 days after the completion of its work.
We're saying the Commission of Inquiry will do. We are working around the clock together. As you know, the President has now announced the lead team, the Commissioner and the Chair of the Commission, Judge Khampepe, who will lead the inquiry, which we are expecting to start within the month of July. And we don't expect them to be too long, but to look at those who are coming forward to say this is the evidence that we are bringing, that if they say Mamoloko Kubai, as Minister of Justice, has stopped prosecution, Mamoloko must be given an opportunity to explain whether indeed has in her actions stopped prosecution of apartheid cases in that context, because we do feel that this will allow, if anyone is cited, anyone is implicated, to explain for themselves. One of the issues that they are raising, which we said the Commission will look into, is in terms of constitutional damage. We said you can't determine to say there are constitutional damage when you have not said and agreed that actually there's been blocking of those inquests or those prosecution. As we know, quite a number of inquests have started. As we can say now, the Cadok 4 inquest is starting next week on Monday, actually, and quite a number have been happening. The COSAS 4 have been happening, and quite a number in the Northwest, even in KZN. When we look at the Griffith inquest, you look at Chief Albert Luthuli inquest. So there are quite a number of them that we are looking at. Again, another angle is that people are saying, is this worth it? Are you not wasting government money? And I always say there's no price for justice. There are people and their families who are asking for answers to know what has happened to their loved ones so that they can find closure.
All right, now joining us for more on this is political analyst and academic head of the Department of Sociology at the University of the Free State, Professor Sethulego Matebesi. Good evening, Professor. Thank you very much for joining us on the late edition. Firstly, your reaction to the President's decision to establish a commission of inquiry to probe those truth and reconciliation cases.
Good evening, Mfundo, and good evening to your viewers. It's actually a sad day, not only for South Africa, but for Africa, on our constitutional democracy and the progress that Africa has made in terms of ensuring that we've got strong, very robust institutions, governance institutions, which can advance the interests and protect the interests of Africans in general. And why do I say this? We already had a commission that went overland to try investigate some of the most heinous or horrible deeds of the past, and yet now we need to go yet again the route of a commission. We have too many commissions in South Africa, and it seems as if those who are in power, who needs to ensure accountability, do not want to take that route. And that, in short, is my reaction. Perhaps it's welcome, but up until we are properly informed why the South African government is actually going this route, for me it will be actually signaling a sad day once again to indicate that our institutions are actually failing.
But upon reading that statement by the presidency, they've indicated that, of course, the decision to establish this inquiry is based in part because of the settlement reached with those families that had wanted the answers or wanted justice for their loved ones who died. So in that instance, it's really at the behest of the family members or insistence of the family members that we now have an inquiry. So what of them who seek answers to this day? Because there have been speculations and allegations for a long time time now, that there were some who had attempted to stop the prosecution of those apartheid-era crimes. So would it not be important for them to finally have this process where at least they can get the answers? If at the end of it all, it's established that there were no individuals that attempted to impede that process to prosecute, then so be it.
Yes, perhaps for the families, there is yet another route, but we've gone the route of commissions, and we've seen what is the outcome of commissions. We're still sitting on the Zondo Commission, and we haven't seen, the much needed action being taken on that. And I don't even want to try and compare the two, because some families have lost family members, and whether it is now a couple of years, the trauma that these families are facing, for them, any form or any process perhaps will bring some sort of relief. But we can never wipe away some of our historical or the lessons that we've learned and exposure that we got in South Africa, that and hopefully it will at least heal and find solutions, and that we don't yet again open another can of worms, and at the end of the day we cannot respond and resolve to the findings of that yet another commission in South Africa.
I want us to look at the terms of reference. Among them, they say that they must establish whether, why, or to what extent and by whom attempts were made to influence members of the South African Police Service or National Prosecuting Authority not to investigate or prosecute cases identified by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. To me, that seems quite broad. And ever so often we've heard that if you're going to broaden the terms of reference, you might or you risk that chance of going on a wild goose chase and actually allowing for costs to escalate. What do you just make of that decision to broaden those terms of reference?
Yeah, but Mfunda, this is exactly where I've got misgivings about this commission, and I've got due absolute respect for those who had to or were forced or compelled to take this decision. First of all, I mean, if police were involved, you've got the state security cluster. Why can't action be taken? And this is typical of South Africans, where we do not have consequence management. And yet again, we will definitely be chasing and guessing as to who is involved. And we should not be surprised that yet again, perhaps this commission will ask for an extension. And hopefully this time around, it will not lead to that. But for me,
they've been given 6 months.
Open-ended, and the question is, what results or objectives or results do you want to yield with such an open-ended, terms of reference?
Pardon me for interjecting there. Now that you've spoken about possible extensions, the Commission will cover the period from 2003 to date, and they're expected to complete all this work in 6 months. Is that honestly enough time, or we will actually see a situation where they ask for an extension?
Yes, well, obviously, we do have capable people who will be, I mean, they are legal gurus in their own right, who will be leading the commission. And I strongly believe that if they've got proper support structures and the funding to do this kind of work, because that, for me, is yet another elephant in the room. The amount of money that will be spent on this commission, that will also become quite a huge bone of contention going forward. And perhaps with proper support, I strongly believe that it is possible for this commission to conclude its work within the time frame of 6 months.
Professor, thank you very much for your insights this evening. That is political analyst and academic head of the Department of Sociology at the University of the Free State, Professor Sethulego Matebesi.